everyone. Welcome back to the Global DNA Series 4. Today's title is Healing All Trauma with Stellar Farborn. And Stellar is an incredible, just being on this planet. She is a sacred songstress of many lineages, a direct sound channel for the New Divine Feminine philosophy and the Magdalene Consciousness, a mystery school teacher for the 21st century, evolutionary guide and facilitator of deeply sacred and highly initiatory experiences in Ireland, France, and Egypt. Her music is scientifically proven to restore vitality and vibrancy and a sense of peace and calm. Thank you so much for joining us, Stellar.
It's an honor, it really is. And thanks for inviting me, Acurda. It's really beautiful. It's lovely to see you. You're looking beautiful.
Oh, thank you. So are you. You're radiating light today. And I think that really speaks to what you're creating, where you're at right now in Ireland, and with the fields of consciousness that have been coming through. Our last conversation that we had was so spectacular, and I have so many great things to ask you today, but I think it's important to share a little bit of your story so people can connect with the essence that's you, of like why you're doing what you're doing, and then also how sound and frequency became so important in your life.
Oh, absolutely. Well, I was born in England, and my mum's Irish and my dad's Scottish. So when I was a baby, my mum decided she wanted to be back with her family, newborn and all the stresses of that. So we moved back when I was less than a year old to Northern Ireland. My dad had been living in Northern Ireland, I think, from when he was about 17. So he was familiar, he'd grown up here in his later years. And so we came back, and I kind of grew up in a war zone. I grew up just about 3 miles outside of Belfast. And so as a child, when I was growing up, I'd hear bombs going off. And, I was actually in a building with a bomb that went off the next door, and the glass all moved in. And, it was a pretty traumatic experience. And so, it was an interesting childhood, but a very privileged one. My father was working in finance, bless him. So we traveled all over the world all the time. So I think by the time I was 12, I'd been to about 80 countries or something. I'd traveled all over the place with those two. And so really, I kind of, when I was about 4 years old, I got locked in the bathroom at home. And I tell this story a lot, but it speaks volumes, because I got locked in the bathroom and I was shouting, "Mummy!" And I could hear the E like reverberating in the tiles in the bathroom. And so I was like, oh, and I could start to see colors with this. I had like a mini synesthesia type experience when I was about 4. And so I started singing and sounding, and all this like ancient priestess language started coming out of me. And I was just having a ball, by the time that mum had actually taken the door off, she was like, "What are you doing in here?" And so that was a real moment that I remembered, like that was a sort of mini awakening for little Stella, the soul coming into the little 4-year-old body. And then I kind of, all of that got, dumbed down through school and everything. And then by the time I was probably in my late teens, I started singing jazz at the Ritz Hotel in London. I was their resident jazz singer for about 1.5 years, maybe 2 years, and that was great fun. So I was playing with all sorts of these, old Oxford Don, incredible impresario musicians, and they were going up and down the scales trying to knock me off all the time. And, we all had a tremendous fun with that, singing, Ella Fitzgerald and all the classics, from the 40s and 50s and 60s. And then I got a proper job in advertising and marketing. And by 1995, I was pioneering new media, the internet-based media. So I went to work for Condé Nast, and, this is all my 3D stuff, So, I went to work for Vogue and Tatler and GQ, and I migrated those titles online and all that kind of stuff. So sort of pioneering role in new media. And then I had my daughter when I was 37. I was quite late. I was a geriatric mother. And when I had my daughter, it was like, I've got to do my heart's work. I can't be doing the old corporate thing. I sort of went a very earth mother when I had her, and went back to nature. So, it was a journey of discovery having her. And it's been amazing. I love being a mum, and she's 16 now. So It's a while ago, but yeah. So I really decided to follow my heart's work because I had to be a role model and an example for her. And that's when I started my singing, and my light language came in, and my authentic self started to appear, even though it was really scary at the time. It was kind of scary to come out and sing in light language when no one was really doing it. That was back in sort of 2007, 2008. And then things just went from one thing to the other. I mean, in between all of that sort of corporate career as well, I did my training in Glastonbury with a woman called Isis, beloved. And she was the full embodiment of Isis here as the guardian of the heart chakra on the planet. And so for 25 of those years, I was going backwards and forwards and doing training really for this time that we find ourselves in, because this is an extraordinary time, isn't it? It's the change of one epoch of time to another, what you would call an ascension cycle, I guess. And it's immense. I think the last time we talked to Acurda, we were talking about the black hole between the sun and the earth, and Thea, the planet being trapped. She's come out on the 22nd of May. She was pulled out. So all the planets are starting to align. And we do these weekend retreats where we're helping people, dissolve trauma so that they can come back into higher scamus union, within. The war internally needs to be over, between the male and the female, between us. So what we've been doing, and the last one was extraordinary, because there was a woman on the course who turned out to be Tara. And if I look at your screen behind you, Tara was like exploded, and strewn across the galaxy. And that meant that there was no 5D timeline really for humanity to come up into as an ascension trajectory back to the Godhead and up through the different dimensions. So on this workshop, we had these two celestial titans. I mean, they're just like ordinary folk. They were there. And I literally saw them put her back together. They put the planet back together, Tara. Now, Tara's like a sister planet to Gaia, Sophia, and Venus, and Tiamat, and the Thea, and there's all these different planets. They're like sisters. They're sisters of the goddess, because when you think about Gaia, Sophia descending from the pleroma, coming from the Godhead and coming down, and then being hijacked into this solar system, which is not our true sun. Sirius is our true sun, the blue sun, right? So it's kind of like everything was hauled into this kind of false matrix, if you like, which is, what we find ourselves in and what we're waking up to, so it's really interesting. And then Venus, of course, got hijacked in, and all these splintered parts of the goddess make up this solar system that we're in, but it's not our true sun. But then there's the new suns are coming. There's like the aquamarine sun, the aquamarine ray of the mother is starting to come in and is part of the ascension trajectory is the word. So there's so much going on. I mean, where do we start? It's like, yeah, and of course the lockdown
fantastic journey so far.
the lockdown thing has been really crazy too, hasn't it? So it's taken most of us to work online, and we're doing a lot of online stuff, but we're starting to branch out again and go to Egypt in September again, and France is still off limits at the moment, but in Ireland there's a lot happening as well. So yeah, I don't know. Where do you want to go from here?
Well, I would love to go into what the Magdalene and Sophia story really mean to you, because I think that sets the tone for like the work that you're doing as a representative of the Magdalene codes.
Yeah, definitely. So the Sophia, if you like, is the bride of Christ. It's that energy. It's the syzygy, or the divine union, divine counterpart, complement to the Christ energy. And the Sophia energy is the wisdom of the mother goddess. She is the mother of mothers, or the mother of all. And then what you have in this planet is the soul of the planet in which we inhabit is called Gaia Sophia, who is the embodiment, if you like, of the Magdalene, Isis, Mother Mary. It's all the mother frequency, the mother arc. Frequencies, and those have rays associated with them. So, for instance, the mother arc is the aquamarine ray, that's coming now to it's just coming in and engulfing the planet with divine love and helping everyone find that divine mother in their heart. And you know what that Magdalene and Sophia consciousness is capable of is applying unconditional love to everyone and everything. You know, it's a very special frequency where you know, no one escapes the mother's love.
Mm.
And the mother is here to unconditionally love every, you know, bit of sentient life, no matter what it's done, what it's capable of doing, or what it did do. The Magdalene energy is here to redeem through unconditional love. And so that's really what's happening right now. You know, there's been a planet that's gone awry for a long time, you know, with the controlling elements that have, if you like, hijacked her. You know, because the beautiful thing about Mother Earth and all of us being on her is that we are creators of the goddess and the god. You know, the god and goddess is the male and female creatrix together, creator. And we're all divine creators built in the image of that frequency, right? I don't talk about beings or energy, I just talk about frequency, because everything is frequency, isn't it? It's all sound and vibration and oscillation. And so what you've got with you know, with this mother frequency coming in now is, you know, everyone gets a chance to redeem. There's no one left behind. You know, even from somebody that's created the most heinous crimes against children is forgiven and loved unconditionally and asked to come home. And then there's a whole redemption process that goes on around that. You know, a lot of beings that are doing nasty things are very wounded, hurt, traumatized people
Yeah.
that got very young. You know, they were done when they were younger. As the Jesuits say, you know, show me the boy from 0 to 7 and I'll show you the man. Because what happens between 0 and 7 when we're born onto the earth and we're having a human experience is that if we have a really severe trauma, that will shape the rest of our lives, basically. So what we do in our workshops is we do an online treatment, if you like, and we go into the core wounding. Now, with some people who've been through terribly traumatic experiences or programs or whatever, you've got to be really careful with their core, because it can be booby trapped or can have all sorts of sigils and symbols and things in there. So what we do is we very gently, the Divine Mother comes in and takes out the core without activating any of the programs and puts in the New World, New Earth core, which is the white diamond flame core. And it goes in and all the trauma is pulled out, literally. It's the kindest way to do it, because most people who've been through serious trauma, you know, like the planet, right? The planet's traumatized as well. So the more that we assist humanity to win the war within and come into this divine union within, this higher gamma union of embodying the God, Mother, Father, God energy within their own heart. And the heart obviously is the gateway. Then we can start to ascend the planet. We can start to heal the planet, because we're healing ourselves and we're all interconnected. You know, we're having this beautiful symbiotic relationship with the Great Mother. And so the more that we heal humanity, the more she ascends and arises up with her divine sisters who are all orbiting around her.
Yeah. Last time we talked about cosmic mercy, and I think that we are in a very unique position that we have gone, these last few years, we've gone into understanding what freedom and sovereignty is, because from freedom and sovereignty, we can offer cosmic mercy. And cosmic mercy is loving the being in front of you no matter what, and offering them a different choice point. They have, as a developing consciousness, get to make a different choice point in order to reconnect back to their soul, back into a positive timeline, back, you know, and then these timelines lead to bringing in all the fragments back of their soul. And it is so important that we offer the cosmic mercy of the love to all beings. And no matter what that they have done, that is why we are here. We human beings, the souls that have come here on this planet, that present on this planet as a physical incarnation, our mission is to offer this cosmic mercy. This is not, and just to not only to ourselves, but to all beings. And this is how we transcend all of the densities, the lower vibrational densities and traumas, not only on this planet, not only in our body and on this planet, but in our solar system and beyond. And this is how we truly ripple love throughout all dimensions and timelines.
Yeah.
And
Oh, absolutely. I'm getting goosebumps when you say that. The hallmarks of truth, the chills, aren't they? And you're so right, because, well, because we're in an ascension cycle, it's like the world is becoming under new management from these beautiful souls that you're talking about. We're all coming down, and the great handover is starting to take place. It's happening. And there's nothing the other side can do for the new timeline. There's a handover for the new timeline for the cosmic mother to return and bring all her children home. That's kind of the vibration of what's happening. So the Godhead have delivered a divine instrument, a lawful instrument to the planet called the Divine Sovereign Decree. And when you talk about sovereignty and freedom, the Divine Sovereign Decree is a very powerful document, because everyone thinks, oh, I'll just declare it in the higher, and I'll make a decree out into Facebook, and I'll put a public decree up here, and I'll do this. But the problem is that when we first come to the earth, we have a heel prick test and a birth certificate, and then we're bonded. We're bonded into this matrix based on our blood, the blood that's drawn from our heel, which represents hell. There's all this word spell around the body and everything, but the heel actually represents hell. And the prick of the blood is on the sole of your foot, isn't it? On the heel of the soul. So your soul is pricked. The blood is taken, it's put on a Guthrie card, and it's sent to the Vatican. That's the way, that's what's going. So we come to earth, and we're owned lock, stock and barrel from the time we get here. Our souls are owned. And what we have to do is literally unshackle our soul. Like if you look at the crown, you've got the lion, and then the crown, the Queen's crown over here in the United Kingdom. And then you've got the unicorn. But if you look at the unicorn symbolism, it's shackled. And the unicorn represents the Christ and the Christos, the purity, the divine beingness, the divine human, the divinity of all of us. And so we need to cut that shackle to fully stand up on all four legs if you're a unicorn, right? Which is a fantasy animal, to some. And but it represents the symbol of purity and innocence, right? So when you look at how the operators have worked before, they've been kind of harnessing our innocence, or taking our innocence very, very younger and younger. And all those different agendas. I don't want to go into all of that, but you've got to take your blood and make a stamp with your blood and say, actually, I'm now absolving all blood contracts on my bone, tissue, anything to do with my organic self, and also to do with my soul, my spirit, and the fact that we all are sovereign. But because we come to the earth, they grab us and they take away our sovereignty. I mean, look at the WHO, over the last couple of days, they've been meeting, haven't they, to try and get a treaty done for all the countries to sign away their sovereignty. I know the UK and the United States and Australia have been very much, trying to convince the other countries, but I think 47 countries have said no, which is very good, so and kind of my role here with my beloved is to remind people of their divine sovereignty and to reclaim it, because actually the governing systems and the law of this earth are based on the law of the sea, which is maritime law. And then you've got to get yourself out of the sea. You've got to pull yourself out of the sea and get back on the land. And the land is what you would call natural law, universal law, cosmic law, spiritual law, all the laws that govern this universe and beyond. So this instrument is a 3-page document that's come to the earth that we've pulled through. And what it is, it's a document loaded with a thing called spiritual equity. Now, spiritual equity is another word for karma. So if anyone comes at you after you've done your divine sovereign decree, if they come at you, then they will incur massive spiritual equity and karma on themselves. So it's like a defense. It's like having a sword, but never having to use it, but it's there. The sword's there. And I always say that the warriors of the galaxies and the universe are the greatest peacekeepers, because they've been through all the wars, they've got all that experience, and they know how to keep the peace just by defending their own trespass. So that's here, and the spiritual equity is incredibly powerful for anyone who's got a mission that's out there. You know, they're getting maybe constantly psychically or spiritually attacked, or attacked by unseen forces, or targeted here on this, you know, on this planet with all the different targeting things that there are. You know, so yes, it's a very important document for ones like yourself, Acurda, and everyone maybe watching this from your audience, to free up your DNA, to unpack your DNA, to get back up to our 12 strands. You know, the controllers have had, you know, they're a 10-strand DNA race, and the last thing they want is the humans waking up to their 12 strands, because then the humans would be deemed superior to them. And of course, they're very arrogant, they're very haughty, you know, they're kind of what's the word, very narcissistic in that way, where they have to be on top and putting others down to feel better about themselves. So yeah, the document's here, and they don't like it at all, and it scares them. And we're not here to scare them, we're just here to say, look, we're here, and a changing of the guard is happening, and there's nothing you can do about it. So would you like to just go off quietly and have a nice easy life yourself, or would you like to redeem and start to help rebuild the new earth? So it's done beautifully, you know, it's done with cosmic grace, cosmic compassion, cosmic mercy for all beings, and they shouldn't be frightened of it, because there's great love here for them.
Yeah, I love the aspect about your sovereignty decree with the blood, because I think this really speaks to how potent our fluids are in our body, our genetics are. And you know, when we do genetic testing and we send our samples away to labs, and however long they keep those genetic samples, they are constantly being bombarded with lab energy, and they are quantumly entangled. And this is something that is so important for us to understand, is how beautifully potent our life streams are in all its forms through this body. And they are sacred, they should be coveted, and they should be just like the Heroes Gamos Act, it should be a sacred initiation of two souls coming together when, you know, we make love, or, you know, we combine in those unions. And it is so important for us to understand the potency of our genetics, our relationships, our consciousness,
our coding. Yeah, our good code.
actually our coding, and our coding through the 12 strands of DNA. And one of the things that we talked about last time, which is super important to me, is moving in from a double helix to a triple helix, and that is from a duality experience, a binary code experience, to a tertiary code. And you said
the vesica trisis.
The vesica trisis. I have so many notes. The vesica trisis. And I would love for you to share what the vesica trisis really means for you and your work. And yeah.
Okay, so when you think of the old Vesica Pisces, it was the two circles, wasn't it? You know, entangled in each other, and that was the Hieros Gammas union. And that was the time of the age of Pisces, and the last galactic year was all based on this union like this. And what's happening now is we're going into a Trinity formation. You know, we're going into the Holy Spirit, Father the Son, or the Mother the Daughter, and the Holy Spirit. You know, depending on what way. But it's a new operating system for the earth, and our DNA is upgrading to meet that new operating system and platform. I call it the Divine Intelligence Network, or the DI, rather than the AI, right? Which is the AI is like the devolution, and the DI is the evolution, because we come here to this planet to evolve our soul's experience, and then we take all of that experience back and we plug into the Godhead, and we upload all the information, right? You know, that's, you know, there's no, as Dolores Cannon said, there's nothing good or bad down here, it's just experiences, right? Even though some of them are bit worse than others, right? But what we do is we've developed this new operating system, which I call also the crystalline chalice operating system of the divine feminine, because what's happened is we have this, you know, patriarchal triad, whatever that had to act out as an experience. And now we're going into an age of balance where there's this high-risk gamma union within, but it's in a Trinity formation. It's really beautiful. It's like, it's the evolution of the soul's experience and how we're going to evolve at a different operating system level of consciousness, of DNA, and everything. As you said, that triple spiral of the DNA is starting to become more evident. So, but the thing that stops that from happening is trauma.
Yeah.
I keep coming back to trauma because trauma stops you from evolving your soul experience, and it makes you much easier to control if you're living from a trauma core, right? And that's why we call some of our workshops are called the loving core, because it's TLC. I woke up with TLC. They were telling me TLC, and I was like, okay, what is it? The living Christ, or what? Oh, the loving core. And it needs to be something accessible to everyone, not just people who either are Christians or follow Christ or whatever, but the Christ energy is something completely different, obviously, than that as well. But it's that Godhead life force that comes in with the divine feminine to create union. And then a third kind of entity is spawned from that and born from that beautiful fusion of that, as you say, love making and conscious love making creates such a powerful energy that they don't want us finding out how powerful that is, right? Look what they did to Mary
Cosmic-gasm.
Magdalene, right? They demonized her and and said she was a prostitute. She wasn't. She was a high priestess of Isis who knew all these knowledges and secrets and ancient mysteries, of course, and she brought that into her practice with Yeshua during that time. And it's about coming into that great balance again and getting rid of the trauma. The trauma is the thing that's holding everyone back from coming into their true power.
The trauma
So
is the real matrix.
it is. We're in a prison
It's
planet
the
trauma matrix
matrix
for
through the
sure.
body that allows us to be in resonance with the other matrical structures that are here, of control and enslavement. And when we release that, we have freedom of energy through our body, and that freedom of energy then connects us to all the other energy in the universe and the omniverse that's free as well. And yeah, and when we look at, just thinking about the relationships that we're involved in, how much structure on this planet is built on parasitic relationships. And what we're doing is we're cycling energy back and forth. We're not creating energy. We're just taking a finite amount of energy and we're cycling it back and forth, and we're pulling on each other, right? Oh, love me, do this, I need this, back and forth to get our needs met. But our needs are really source energy, are really the love of source. And when we become a fully coherent, embodied soul, and we connect with another soul that's at that level, when we start connecting, we create energy, we create source, we create all of the living light systems of the universe together. Yeah.
And our DNA is like having this little telepathic conversation, when you meet soul family, you meet friends, you're just like, I know you. I don't know how I know you, but I know you. And then your DNA is off having this completely different like dialogue, like what exchange of information through energetic fields and everything. So yeah, we're very special beings. We're also probably one of the most exploited planets in the universe because we are all creators, and there's many planets and systems out there with beings who just they can't create. They're not creators, so we tend to get exploited for the things that we come up with. I mean, look at the civilizations that we build, and the incredible feats of man and the creation energy that we are. I know your beloved calls it the mass creation engine of creation, isn't it?
That's creation, yeah.
So yeah, the engine of mass creation, and that's what we are in that high-risk gamma union. We're coming into that mass, huge amount of creative energy that is literally building the new earth. And what's happened to myself and a team where we're linked in meditation to the Andromedan Academy, which is a different galaxy, and I work as a scientist in that field. We're all here in
That's
these.
where we know each other.
Probably right. Okay, the Andromedan Academy.
Genetically here from the Wallaces and
Right. Oh yes.
yes, that's where it comes from.
The
Okay.
Wallaces and the Roberts, and yeah. So up in the Andromeda Academy, we'll be working with great scientists from all over, the galaxy, and they come to go to lectures or whatever. And a lot of stuff is done there. It's like in 55D, but the Andromedan Academy was actually where the Temple of the White Flame of Isis was safely kept for 22,000 plus years. And last winter solstice here in the United Kingdom, December 21st, 2021, we brought the white flame back from the Andromedan Academy to the earth. And so it's fully anchored here, and it's just full of the Divine Mother Creatrix morphogenetic field, you know, of the new earth operating system, right? It's got the vesicatrices in there, it's got the crystalline chalice, it's got the diamond core, all these wonderful things are now starting to flow out, and they're strategically placed now all over the earth in various different stargates, and you know, places where there's an all of the mother's love needed, you know, like certain countries in the Middle East and things like that. So yeah, it's like everything's shifting. It's like the mother's divine plasma or honey, you know, that comes from that high-risk gamma union with the beloved is just now pouring out all over the planet and restructuring. And you know, it's almost like the teams that we've probably been working with, right, Acurda, you know, the teams that were here to almost put like matchsticks of the 5D architecture and structure all around the planet to create a solid grid around the planet, to then be able to open up the old Tower timeline that was destroyed, the 5D Earth, and then to create an architecture that goes literally from whatever consciousness you're here in the 3D all the way up to the Godhead now. Literally, you have the ascension pathway has opened. And that's where like sound and frequency and everything comes in for me, because that's all done at a frequential level. You know, it's not really at a conscious level, but you can tune in and tap into it and see it like, wow, this whole crystalline cathedral now is leading us from the earth home, if that's the path we want to go.
That's why
In
I
a
love,
body, you know, in a human body, right?
yeah, that's why I love helping people see the possibility of using our consciousness to architect our DNA with light and geometry, because then you start to understand the actual crystalline structures that are happening, and you start to understand the braiding that is happening, the morphogenetic braiding that is happening with these realms. And then it becomes a real tangible biofeedback loop into these realms, these forms of consciousness, these holographic beautiful societies that, you know, this is where we're reading from when we're creating the Garden of Eden, or the energetic Eden, or heaven on earth. This is where we're reading from. And these are very tangible things that we can experience and see and create with. And they do have a structure to them, and an architecture to them. And the architecture, you know, first we kind of start off with lines, but then you realize that sacred geometry is not lines. It is actually a phasing in and out of holocymatic sound and light through dimensions. And then this becomes another level of experience of our genetic coding with the divine coding as like this cosmic breath, or, you know, and it's just it's so beautiful. And I really love the work that you're doing. And I wanted to ask you, what do you feel is, because you've had so much experience with trauma, and I think that's important, because this is really the work that you're doing right now,
Most
is
important work is getting rid of the
it's the
trauma.
most important work. And with trauma, how does trauma then frequentially feed into de-evolution, evolution, and ascension? And how can people like really take some of the things that have happened, that they've experienced, and then transform it into the evolution, and then into their ascension to the fullness of their
Well,
being?
it's such a big question. Oh my goodness, but
No.
I'll do my best to answer. And it's yeah, it's kind of really just through like, you know, having to come up with a solution through desperation, really, because my daughter, bless her, was showing some signs of, you know, personality disorder in her teens, and emotional dysregulation, you know, instability, and it was very traumatic and very challenging for her. It was very difficult to watch her going through episodes and things. So I was like, there's something else here. There's something we can work with. So you know, I work with myself, John, and a dear friend of ours, Lynn Morris. Lynn's wonderful. I think you're interviewing Lynn. She's another cosmic DNA being, beautiful soul. And we work in a trinity. We work in a trine wave technology. And that's a trine wave technology is something from the Godhead that's gifted to come down and build this container that you can put a soul, a physical body, whatever, into this container. And then the core, the trauma can be removed. So it's actually a very powerful container to do this, where no programs get activated. You know, there's no booby traps, there's no, you know, there's all sorts of different types of trauma. But there have been several people that have come on our courses who have had OCD, bipolar, borderline personality disorder. And that's how trauma manifests out, you know, if it's unhealed and it's not been recognized or dealt with, or, you know, pathologized, if you like, all the way through childhood from whenever it happened to when you're starting to form a young adult, say at 14, 15 years old. And these people have come on our courses and literally they have left symptom free, like within 2 days. They're just like, I could just feel all the crap being taken out of me, all the trauma, everything was lifted out. And they're just, I mean, there's some people who've gone through really traumatic experiences. I'll not go into all the labels and stuff, but you know, they were just hopeless. Like, I'm going to be like this for the rest of my life because I've been told this, that there's no cure for this type of trauma. And we have disproved that. You know, we've just gone in and gone, that Godhead says you don't need to go through 50 years of counseling. Just get it
Mhm.
sorted. You know, cosmic mercy, no more suffering, no more harm, no more injury, no more loss, no more guilt. All those things have to go. So the cosmic mercy has come down through the Mother, Father in that divine Trinity, trine wave energy. And that allows us the container to go in and psychically, surgically remove all the stuff and then put in a new earth operating system, which upgrades the DNA and allows you to walk in the new earth timeline. So
Yeah.
it's really rewarding. I mean, it's the best work I've ever done in my life. It's just so rewarding to see people come in an absolute wreck and leave. And then what we've done to create a synergy platform, because 7D Gaia Sophia Consciousness works on an operating system called synergy, where we all rule together. There's no one monarch. We're all sovereigns together. We're all sovereigns together again, right? Because that's what we came from. Pardon me. So yeah, so we build this infrastructure where when people come on the course and if they want to do a testimonial about how they shifted and how they've been, well, we obviously can't say healed and you can't say you cure things or whatever these days, but now that they're symptom free completely and they've got their lives back, they can then make referrals to us for other people to come, and they get paid the same as the three facilitators, myself, John and Lynn, because it's all about energy. It's all about you bringing your energy to something, then you must be financially rewarded equally to all the others. So it's it's like it's a beautiful system. It just starts self-organizing. Once you get enough people in, it starts to self-organize itself into a beautiful new operating system. And Richard Rudd talks about synergy a lot as the 44th gene key. I love Richard's work. And I don't know if you've ever had him on. Have you, Acurda, on
I
the show?
haven't.
Oh,
No.
I've got
I
to get
love
him
it.
on the show. I mean, he's like Mr. Gene
Yeah. And he's
expert, you
got some
know.
serious gatekeepers, you know?
Yeah. Well, I can put in a good word for you. I know Richard personally, so you should definitely get him on. But yeah, I mean, those codons of light, you know, it's all about, you know, finding out what your unique jackpot was when you were conceived. You know, what gifts did you come in with? And, you know, as the little fruit machine goes clink, 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 you know, what did you come up with? What was your DNA code like? And why are you here? What are you here to do? And I love the way Richard just unpacks all of that stuff. So it's really good.
Yeah. His
But yeah, it's you know, the trauma is the biggest problem. It's the gateway drug to everything else. And once we heal the trauma, then we don't have people not acting in their authenticity. It's about coming back to be authentically you and to be celebrated as your unique part in the whole shebang, you know. And that's what Ubuntu is all about. Michael Tellinger's work is all about Ubuntu, and you know, we all rule together as the Synergy platform. We all divinely, collectively, harmoniously rule as divine sovereigns. And so Ubuntu means that everyone is celebrated for their uniqueness that makes up the whole. And without that one beautiful, unique part, then we can't operate, so everyone's celebrated for just being themselves, which my teacher and I used to say, what's the definition of heaven on earth? And I'd say, to just be myself, right? To just be me, and to be seen for just being me and that unique part, and then to be celebrated for Acurda, for who you are and all that beauty that you bring and your uniqueness and all your DNA templates and, cosmic wisdom and your Sophia codes that you have within you and your Magdalene codes. So that's where we're going, but we've got a jolly lot of work to do before we get into that, because we've got to heal all the trauma.
I really feel like the currency of the new earth will really be perspectives, will be consciousness perspectives, because at some point we're going to walk away from money. We're going to walk away from all of this stuff because, we can have Bitcoin, we can have whatever. It's still just another system of control, but when we finally relinquish all of this and we declare that we have abundance here for every man, woman, and child, all beings, to be in their sovereign birthright of energetic freedom, then what becomes the real currency? And the real currency is consciousness, is our unique perspective with our gifts, the creation of ourself in this field as a witnesser, and all of that we've witnessed becomes the new currency for the new earth.
Oh, sure. And unconditional love, it's backed by the goals, which is unconditional love, right? And I love that.
Currency not backed by gold, but backed by love.
Backed by unconditional love, for sure. Because I mean, even when you look at the currencies on the earth right now, they're not backed by gold. They're all just fictitious, like print money and all of that stuff's got to go as well. So yeah, there's a lot of work to do. There's a lot of systems that need to come up and kind of mirror what we've got here, and then take it up somewhere else and out of the old slavery system, because this is a prison planet with slaves on it that don't know their true power, and your true power is your divine power of love within your heart and your love making with your beloved. That is the true power of who we are, and look at all the distortions around that.
Amen. Let's talk about 432 hertz and what this is and what this really means for you, and the scientific research that you have and that you've done, that this kind of proves that through sound frequency we can start to come into energetic balance and then into coherence.
Well, it's a good question. I mean, 432 represents a musical tuning that's actually an ancient musical tuning, or what they would call Verdi's A. It was called back in the day when Verdi was, the composer. But the ancients knew about intervals, ratio, and oscillations and vibrations, and intervals and ratios between sounds or vibrations. And when you look at the entire cosmos and the architecture and the absolute precision of this entire universe, per se, it's all based on 432. It's all based on that. Literally, I call it my star key. It's how I can sing through dimension. I can sing into other dimensions using certain frequencies, right? So for me, this is a very powerful tool to be able to work with someone's multidimensional self and to bring them back into alignment. Or even if you look at the ancient temples of Delphi in Greece, Athena's temple, if you look at all the pillars and how far they are apart from each other, they all link into the same oscillation and ratios and intervals that you'd find in 432 hertz music. So it's like everything is frozen music, isn't it, in this dimension? As you say, it's flickering in and out at a certain oscillation and vibration. But what it's doing is when we listen to music in 432 hertz, it brings us back into nature. It brings us back to our core being, which is love. It brings us back to being fully connected with the cosmos. And if you ever go out in the night sky and you look up at the stars, it's like your DNA is just being reflected right back at you. You're looking at yourself, you're looking at your cosmic DNA of the oneness, the unity Christ field, the unity Christ consciousness, whatever you want to call it. So for me, 432 is a very powerful tool. And I find, like, if I've got to go and do gigs with a brass orchestra or something, or I've got to go and do a gig, doing 440, I've got to practice for bloody weeks before I go on stage, because it's unnatural to the human voice box. And you've got to realize that the human voice is the only divinely God created instrument on the planet, right? The singing voice. And everything else is man-made, right? So we've got this incredible gift here with our throat and our throat chakra and our voice box. And you know, when you hear choral music and harmonies, it just lifts your heart, doesn't it? It takes you into a different vibration. And so it would be wonderful to see all the world systems come back to 432 hertz, because it you know, sound is consciousness, and sound has the power to elevate consciousness. It also has the power to devolve consciousness and destroy as well as create. You know, there's certain frequencies that aren't good for you. So for me, 432 is about coming really back into alignment, and I've done a lot of experiments with blood, human blood in vitro, using the Lord's Prayer in Aramaic in 432, and Divine Harmony was another one that we did. And what we found was that the blood cells that were played and immersed in the 432 hertz music with my voice did not drop off. There was no death rate when they went into a vial of, you know, like a glass vial, and they were put in a Faraday cage and just played the music for 20 minutes, compared to a vial of blood if it was just left in a silent environment in another Faraday cage, you know, with just quiet. And the drop off was quite significant of the blood that wasn't being played the music. And then the ones that were immersed in the music, it was almost like they just hadn't died off at all. And so in some cases they were getting more. They were growing, they were like multiplying. You know, life was growing out of the petri dish, right? With the sound, because it's the sound of the universe. So it's incredible. 432 hertz, really, I discovered it's about 2010 or 11. And I really felt that you know, the ancient priestess part of me was like, when the priestess would sing in that frequency, people would go into altered states, and they could elevate their consciousness into different dimensions and access different wisdoms and information packets that they couldn't normally access without that carrier wave, you know, to take them on a journey, you know, into those higher dimensions and realms. So yeah, I'm a big 432 hertz fan, and I think all vocalists should demand that they have to sing, especially professional ones, that they sing in 432, because it doesn't wreck your voice. People get polyps and things if they sing too much in the other frequencies, you know, the standard concert pitch, which is 440 hertz.
Yeah. You know, I wonder about people who do acting all the time and they're constantly changing their voice, and what that really does in a person's psychological and physiological beingness.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, would you love to sing us something?
I could try. I could
No,
try. I've got a
we
D
are
for
on Zoom,
you.
and we'll just let Zoom, you know, have it do its thing. And
I'll just take a sip of water. Mm. Okay, I'll just do a simple light code. Om Shemai Om Nahiya Neyo Mana Mano Shammai 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 Manai Menho Shemai. And that probably sounded a bit Celtic-y and Scottish-y, because I was singing your light code there.
oh, it was so beautiful. Like it was like a cosmic mother, like
Oh,
holding me in her arms, and my heart was just like
oh, oh.
opened right up. It was just like, oh yeah, sing it to me. Yeah, so beautiful.
Yeah, and so I love to do that. I do that sometimes as a service for people if they want to have their light codes sung, you know, because we all have different bodies of light. And so what I do is I tune into your sound light body, called the Ren light body. And it's like a rainbow light body of frequency. And then I can go in and I can pick out the signature notes and then just kind of, yeah, tune in that way. But what we do with the cymoscope is we take a photograph of what your soul looks like. And actually I've got a picture of my soul up there. And that is me singing 144 voices, actually. So it came out like a 12 petaled blue rose. You can see all the 144 frequencies that go off it. So yeah. So the cymoscope kind of measures the,
the technology of the cymoscope is so incredible. And like, for me, like that image that you showed me of your vibrational print is how I see genetics now. I see it as this totally morphogenetic weaving in and out, and it's so beautiful. And
that's like 12-strand DNA right there, you know. There it is. That's what it looks like.
Absolutely. And it's important to honor our uniqueness in our genetic coding. And so I love the work that you're doing, Stellar.
Oh, thank you. Thank you so much.
I'm so glad that we finally got to connect, and this has been such a gift. And you also have a free gift for the community that's tuning in.
Well, yes. I mean, I've got beautiful downloads on my website. So you can go to stellar1.bandcamp.com. Maybe you can write that underneath. So it's stellar and then number 1.bandcamp.com. You go there and there's lots of things to download. There's a beautiful track called Humanity is Golden that I'm singing. I was singing it on an eclipse in Germany, actually. It's a very powerful piece. So it's a really lovely meditative piece that will just take you off into a completely different space. So go to my website and have a look.
What's the name of that one?
Humanity is Golden.
Humanity is Golden.
Yeah, it's really beautiful. So that's a free download off the site there. And you can go and listen to all my stuff. You know, you can stream it forever. You don't have to go buy it. It'd be nice if you did support me and buy it, because it's a very expensive hobby making music, I can tell you. But it's not really a hobby, it's more of a vocation. But yeah, so there's lots of music, about 20 albums on there you can go and have a listen to. And we're launching now the White Flame New Earth Academy, which is starting in be June, end of June, beginning of July. Probably will launch that, which is really exciting. So that's a whole new academy to learn how to walk in the new earth as a divine sovereign, as a Christ or a Christus Sophia. You know, we're not here to follow Christ, we're here to become the emulation of what was left for us 2,000 years ago. We're no longer the seeding, we're the blossoming. You know, people say star seeds, we're the star blossoms now. It's time to come into our fullness. We're literally becoming, you know, the Christ energy, and that's how we co-create heaven on earth. So lots of really amazing things. I've got a retreat in Egypt coming up. What else? Oh my goodness, we've got so much stuff. John's doing a thing called the Magi Codes. So that's to teach the divine masculine how to support the divine feminine and her role here now, and how to walk in balance, shoulder to shoulder as equals. So it's really beautiful. So supporting the conscious male that wants to come in and really be in full Hariscamus with his beloved. Yeah, I guess just watch my Facebook page. There's always something going on. There's always something dropping in. But the next Hariscamus retreat we have is I don't know when you're actually launching this video, but we have them at the end of every month, just after the new moon. So the weekend after the new moon is a 2-day retreat, and it's just come and get trauma free. It's holding you back, stopping you from ascending. So time to get a new core.
Absolutely. I love sharing with people about designing a life from a healed perspective. No matter what is happening in your life, no matter what is going on, is to, when we are creating things, because we're creators, to bring yourself out of any of these perspectives, and then to design what you really want to create from a healed perspective. If you are healed, there is a level of consciousness that is untouched, untapped, totally original, and fully coherent in the fullness of God's love.
Yeah.
And that is intact. And so we get to just believe in the miracle that is happening, that is the truth, and that will be the truth.
Yeah.
And then build the structure by making those choice points to create from a healed perspective.
Oh, definitely. I mean, the authentic self, you know, when you think about it, people say, where do you get the inspiration for your music? And I say, well, you know, when you're able to tap into the infinite pool of all creation, which we all can, you know, that's where I get my inspiration from. And I could never run out of inspiration, you know. Oh, what star system will I look at today, you know, as an inspiration for a song or whatever, or, you know, what divine being of love can I tune into their energy field and start to channel through, or what constellation can I sing down onto the earth? You know, it's like, you know, the sky's the limit, literally. The universe is unlimited, and there are many universes, you know. It's not just this one where we can tap into the great infinite pool of the cosmos, and that should be everyone's, and could be everyone's inspiration. And let's hope in the new earth vibration that is. Just imagine what we could create when we're all in that space.
I would love for everybody just to take a moment and imagine themselves drinking from the infinite pool of creation. Because this is our truth.
The crystalline diamond light coated elixir. Give me another pint of that.
Yeah, I'll take a chalice.
The chalice full. Right, well, look, I'll see you in 55D tonight. We'll probably be off experimenting in our lab.
Yeah. One of the cool things that I've had from teaching at that academy, one of the experiences I've had is that when we first met, we all came, groups of beings came, and they had crystals in the center of, like, almost like an auditorium, and we put our hands on the crystals, and we basically got to show each of the other beings like what our species was truly capable of. And we, you know, and then we all showed like our best creation stories from our species.
Wow.
And like that's how we started to really work together of what we as a group of super consciousness of ambassadors could really create. And that's how the format started for that curriculum.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, I know. It's funny, in the white flame, we have the master crystals come up, and everyone puts their hand on it and they get uploaded with their highest potential. And then another crystal will come out, and they'll put it in their heart, and the crystal will read their heart, everything that's written in the heart, and they put it back into the master crystal. And then there's like a whole manifestation flame that comes from that to allow you to live your heart's desires, your dreams, your hopes, everything that is all part of creation and moving into the new earth templates. So yeah, it's beautiful. I know we'll be busy. I know we'll be busy. I could, even if we're not meeting in the physical and consciously, I know we're busy.
Yeah, definitely. Well, thank you so much for joining us. Thank you for what you're contributing here. And I really appreciate you. I appreciate your voice, the courage that you have with your voice, because this is really bringing in those vibrational frequencies for people to hear and be incoherent with, and create something new for themselves that stabilizes this new reality of the new earth and the new human. So thank you so much. I truly love you and honor you. And it's been
I
a
love
great
you too,
sharing.
divine sister.
Yeah.
I love you too. You're amazing. You're amazing. So let's meet again soon, wherever that may be. And thank you so much for having me on this incredible summit. I've really enjoyed catching up with you twice now. And I look forward to seeing who else is coming on. You know, it sounds amazing. So thank you so much for having me on. And all my love to you and everyone watching. Take care and God bless.
Thank you, everyone. I really hope that this filled you with such love and joy, and an initiation into drinking from the pool of infinite possibility. So, bye-bye.
Great name for the title. All right.